All right, everybody, welcome to our September Super Saturday meeting. This month we've got Jonesy coming back, and he is going to talk to us about how he uses a product called JAMF or JAMF, whichever one, in his company's product, Apple products, Apple device management. So I will turn it over to him, and we'll have our main presentation. After that, we'll do the Mac Help Desk again.
Yeah,
we'll just continue.
It's
more
a double
Jonesy.
feature. Sometimes double features are the best features. All right, good morning, everybody. Again, my name's Jonesy, but I'm sure most of y'all know me. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about what's known in the tech world as an MDM, or a mobile device management. It's a type of software. And we use it in my company. I work for a company called Alfred Media. We're in a really cool kind of niche part of the world called event technology. So what we do is when a company or a nonprofit or government wants to put on a show, we provide the project management of figuring out, what venue they're wanting to use. Is it outside? Is it indoors? Is it a hotel? Is it an arena? And then we go in and, depending on how much money they want to spend, but also what they want to do, we will provide the projection, the LED screens, the audio, the video, the staging, the lighting, special effects. If you could think of it, we will find a way to do it. So I've actually been working on a video that we're planning on using on another part of our website, but I thought it was really good, so I wanted to share it with you all real quick. It will kind of showcases just some of the shows that we've done in the last couple years. So I'm hoping that my audio is captured for y'all that are streaming online. I think it is. It should be. Okay. So we play that real quick. Do you remember where I put it? There it is. Let's go full screen and minimize you guys for a minute. So that's what we get to do. It is so cool to see everything come in at the end, from gathering it all up, loading it on trucks, usually several trucks, and getting it to wherever it needs to go across the United States, assembling it all together, putting on these events, and then taking it all down, giving it back, checking it so that it can go out again for whatever the next event is. So as y'all saw, we do a lot of different types of events, from product releases. That was the most recent F-35 that Lockheed Martin just showed off. So we helped show off their stuff. We've been doing a lot of AI conferences for a lot of big tech companies. We do a lot of nonprofits, like for example, the most recently the 9/11 stair climb in Dallas, you know, we do a lot of conferences too for a lot of different companies, from airplanes to financial software. So sometimes the financial software ones are not as fun, but every now and then you'll get one of those companies that just wants to go all out, and we're like, yes, let's do it. So it's a lot of fun. The technology that has to happen for everything to come together has become very computerized. So when you think of audio equipment and lighting equipment, you don't think about a lot of the computers that control that, but a lot of the audio equipment, video equipment, computer equipment, lighting, for example, a lot of our lighting stuff connects now all through like Ethernet. So it all has basically Ethernet lines that run through. A lot of the audio equipment, same too. And it all goes to switches and controllers, and then the computers essentially help program and tell, you know, all that equipment how to sync up and do what it needs to do and program it and have all the different instances that need to happen for it all to come together. On the computer side, that's where my job comes in. The wonderful thing I get to say about Alfred Media is we are very Mac-centric. All of our staff computers are Macs. A lot of the computers that we send out are Macs. I would definitely say our Macs outnumber our PC computers probably 2 or maybe 3 to 1. And all the Macs have to do different things all at once. And so where JAMF comes into play is it allows someone like me to define what is that Mac doing. Is it a Mac that just a staff person's using? So, you know, I need to make sure that they have Office and the printer that's in the office, the drivers installed, you know, that they have their PDF viewer editor installed, simple things like that. Versus, is this a Mac that is used for graphics and it's going out to show sites? So it needs to have, you know, PowerPoint, Keynote, and Zoom for, yeah, doing Zoom calls on giant LED monitors. That still happens, but yeah. And then all the very specific software and hardware that's needed for powering, you know, the video equipment that we also use there, and audio equipment, capturing the audio too. So when it comes to Macs that go to show site, they run the gamut. So we have MacBook Pros. We use Mac Studios. Usually if we're powering a screen that has 2 4K monitors, our Mac Studios will handle that. For the bigger shows that need to do 4 4K monitor displays, usually big projection or LED walls, those are going to usually have Mac Pro towers. A lot of our audio equipment is powered by Mac Minis, and we have these mobile video storage management units that go site to site, and because when you're recording video in 4K, you need somewhere to put all that video at the end of the show before it comes back to the office. So, you know, it's not uncommon that a show, especially shows that go on multiple days, we might be recording anywhere between 20 and 30 terabytes of video, raw video from all the different cameras and everything that are coming through. So we have those units powered by MacBook Airs, and they basically run an OWC server storage rack that has SSDs and spinning hard drives inside. So we can quickly move the data to the SSDs, and then on the downtime, it copies that to the storage, the spinning storage below. What else am I missing? Oh, and iPhones for the truckers. because we have to like also keep track of where the trucks are. You know, are they where they should be at the end of the day? You know, we get concerns if they've not made it to a certain state by the time they should have made it to a certain state. And then there's sometimes concerns when they arrive the next day. I was like, no, wait, that should have took 2 days. Wait, hold on. And all of our crew in the operations that pulls all this information has iPads. So on a mix of all that, then I also have to worry about the iPads. So the operations crew, we actually have an in-house app that we made. We call it the Pull List. And each show obviously will have very specific items that need to be pulled. It then gets categorized by staging, lighting, audio, video, LED, and the different departments then can go in and say, I have these, I've pulled, you know, let's say I need 5 Macs, I have 5 Macs, I've pulled them. It will basically remove it from the list once all 5 of them have been pulled. Let's say I'm short, I need, let's say 12 HDMI cables or DVI cables or DisplayPort cables. I can go in there and say I'm short these cables, and then that will flag the guys who order things. Do we need to order this? Do we need to rent it from somebody because we can't order it quick enough? So all that all happens all at the same time. So I can't express to you guys how much of a monumental event it is to figure out everything that needs to go to a show, make a list, pull that list, load it on a truck, get it out there, and then basically do it all in reverse and do it all over again, depending on what show's going on. We might even have multiple shows going on at the same time. Some weeks may have about like 3 or 4 shows all going in and out, or more. I've had some weeks where it's been more, and at the end of the week you just want to scream. But you know, yeah.
What does Mac Studio 12 ports look like? You use that, right?
Well, we use the Mac Studios. Those are those little. They kind of look like a Mac Mini that's bloated. The Mac Studios, we use those when we need to do a show that has at least 2 4K displays, monitors, when that might be using projectors.
That is or the computer in itself?
Yeah, the Mac Studios is one of Apple's computer lines. So you got Mac Mini, you got iMac, Mac Studio, Mac Pro, and then on the notebooks you have MacBook Air, MacBook Pro. So all that. So how do you manage all of that? So we use a service called JAMF. And what JAMF does, let me pull them up real quick, is they give us a platform for being able to manage all these different devices. And like I kind of alluded to before, a computer that an office person's using might have certain needs that a computer that's a video technician might have different needs. So this allows us to define those needs immediately, keep control of the computers too. So when a computer gets erased, it already knows that it's tied to our company. So, you know, again, that's another kind of security concern is when it's going to all these show sites across the nation. If one kind of goes MIA, you know, we have ways of figuring out, you know, its location, and then also know that it's locked down, or if push comes to shove, that we can even remotely erase it. If, you know, again, it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, but you know, that concern is also taken care of by this software too. But what's really neat is even from the start, when a computer's originally set up, we can define things like naming the computer, what the user can and can't do. I will admit, you can go as far as like making it where the person can't even change their desktop wallpaper. We don't do that. We feel like we need to give people the ability to change their desktop wallpaper. So you can really lock things down if you need to. The software is also really popular in schools. So in a school environment where you really need to make sure things are locked down, you can. But in our case, we feel most of our guys and gals are grown-up adults who probably don't need to lock it down horribly enough. But it allows us to, you know, make sure that like security software gets installed. It's adjusted depending on what their needs are, what their right. It you know, also puts this really interesting little program on their computers. This app's called self-service. So this app will show up for Mac users, iPhones, iPads, and what's really nice about this is it also kind of puts the assistance back into the user's hands. So what a person in the office sees in self-service might be different from what a graphics user sees in self-service. So what I mean by that is, in this situation, since this is an Office Mac, I have it here where, let's say they want to use the printer that's in the center of the office, but for whatever reason they don't have that printer installed. Well, I have it down here. They can click, in this case, since I have it installed, it says reinstall, but if it wasn't installed correctly, they can click install, and it will automatically install the printer driver and any additional software for that printer for them, so now that they can use that printer. Same thing with Microsoft Office. I hate it, but we have to use it. Microsoft Teams. Our VPN, so for those that are working remotely, whether at home or off-site, if they're at a hotel, it installs the VPN software for them so they can do that. And anytime I get requests of, hey, I need to do this, and it's not already in self-service, I can add these apps in different ways. If it's an app that's already in the Mac App Store, it is as simple as going through Apple's business management site and saying, you know, I want 5 or 10 or 12, or, you know, if it's a free app, I'm usually like 500 seats of a specific app. So like, for example, like this one here called Rectangle. Someone asked me, they wanted the ability to manage their windows better on the Mac side, just like they do in Windows. And also it kind of hurt because they said, just like Windows. Ugh. But, I was like, okay, fine. I'll find something that can do that. And I was able to, you know, find that app, tell it, you know, I want so many seats from the Mac App Store, and then come in here and say, if you're a person that's in the office, a staff Mac, allow them to see this in self-service. So if they want to install and use this app, it's as simple as click and install. They don't want to, they don't have to. So if I click on any of these apps, if I want to get really detailed on what it does, I can. This one here, I can just click install. This one I also point out here, it is installing. I'm not at the office, so this computer can be anywhere in the world. As long as it's connected to the internet, it allows me to install these apps and puts that control in it. And then now that it's installed, I go on my applications, we'll switch to icons. For you guys, I'll switch to icons. Rectangle. Oh, there it is. There it is. So now it's installed on this computer. So it's really as simple as that. So it's kind of like a Mac App Store, but the nice thing about this is, one, I don't have to worry about all the different users in the office having rogue iCloud accounts and keeping up with those. Don't want to do that. It gives them basically a list of, here are approved apps by your IT department that you can use on your computer.
How do you handle all those different, does the MDM give you a single iCloud account, or they all have?
So there is an iCloud account that works with the Apple Business Manager account as far as licenses and seats.
Yeah.
But when a person installs it from here, if it's from the App Store in that situation, it just keeps count of how many seats you've requested or purchased. So for an app that actually does have a purchase price, so you know that occasionally does happen. Like for example, there is a PDF Essential app that we use for our guys and gals that might work in an area where they're doing lots of editing of PDFs or signing PDFs. This app does have a cost per license. We're able to manage that through the Apple Business Manager account, and it will keep track of those licenses automatically for us.
Each person has to sign in with their own iCloud account?
No.
Well, that's
No.
the problem.
Yes. So that for those of y'all that don't have to work within that realm of having to worry about iCloud accounts, that is a godsend right there. Now, if we wanted to have like managed iCloud accounts that are associated with our business, like that, your name at alfredmedia.com in the situation, we can do that, but we decided, we don't really want to mess with that muck at the moment. So for most of our users, being able to come in here and self-service and download what they need is super helpful. The other cool thing is if the app is not in the App Store, that doesn't hold us back. We can actually go in and download applications from the internet. So let's say it's an application from an independent developer and they don't want to put their app on the App Store for a reason. That's cool, that's fine. They provide us tools to essentially create our own packages of that application, and then once that package is made, we can put it here in our self-service app so it shows up as well. So I'm trying to think of an app here that might be like that. I think most of them here, well actually right here, Backbone. You won't find Backbone in the App Store because that's actually an internal app that we've made. It's our database app that helps us keep track of our clients, our contacts, our items, our inventory, and all that fun stuff. So we're able to use our composing app to make that package, and then it shows up here so anyone that needs access to that database app can then just download it onto their computer and use it as needed. So we're not held back by, is it in the App Store or is it not in the App Store? We can do either or depending on what our guys and gals need. The composing of the application actually it probably comes in more play for our people that are in audio and video, because they're usually using very specific apps for whatever they're doing on show site. So those ones we're usually composing to make sure that they get pushed and set up and installed correctly as well. The application also allows us to do other kind of cool things. So, for example, whenever we have a new hire or anytime we do like to usually swap out Macs after about 3 to 4 years. So we don't have older Macs that are in the pipeline. We like to keep everybody fresh and updated. So installing Office and Teams and our database app and our settings and all those programs for each computer can get very tedious. Same thing comes back when a computer comes back from show. If there's a lot of times we have competing clients, if you will. We definitely do not want a computer that comes back from one client to go out to another client and have their logo or their information on that computer show up on a different show site with a different client. Big no-no. So how do we handle that, and how do we help reinstall all those applications? Well, what's really cool is I can also create essentially automation. You'll notice like this one here, we created, it's called Install Staff Laptops. So what that does is when I'm setting up for a new computer, I don't want to sit there and have to click through the installation for Office and Zoom and Teams and all those different applications. I kind of want to set it and move on to something else. So what I can do is I can actually click on the installer on this, and it will automatically install all the staff laptops, the printers, access to the printers, any special settings that I want for that particular person or that particular computer, and it automates that for me so I don't have to worry about, did I miss something? Did I forget an application? As long as it's in that automation, it goes through and does its thing, and as those needs change, it will keep up with that. And the other nice thing is it keeps up, especially like for the apps that are from the Mac App Store. As updates get pushed to the Mac App Stores, so for example, new versions of Zoom, new versions of Office, it will keep track of that and make sure that those apps, the newer versions of those apps can get installed. And then on top of that, I can even have it set to where it makes sure that the more current versions of those apps get installed on the computer that's being managed by us. So, we don't want someone that has an older version of Office that's maybe 3 years old, we want to make sure that it occasionally gets updated as time goes along. So minimize those calls of, hey, why isn't this working? Well, you haven't updated in 3 years. We minimizes those issues too. For the computers that come back from show site, and forgive me, I actually was this close to bringing one of those computers one day, but we needed them for a show. So that's not gonna, that didn't happen. But for a computer that comes back from show site, we have a script that reinstalls the current version of macOS on it, or the current version that we're supporting at the moment. So right now we are on Sonoma, and it will reinstall the macOS on it, reboots it. We tell it that, you know, it's under control by us. It figures out, oh, I'm a graphics laptop. It sets all its settings up. So for a laptop that's going to show site, there are a couple things that we want in those settings. So for one, we don't want it to go to screensaver while it's on being projected on a giant wall. It would look bad. So we do things like disable screensaver, disable it from turning off the screen or turning itself off. We disable it from doing automatic updates because you don't really want it doing an automatic update while you're presenting. Little things, we'll have other kind of settings set up on it, and then once that's all done, then we will have it where it will automatically start installing all the graphics apps on it. So, it puts PowerPoint on there, make sure Keynote's on it. It'll make sure, dare I say it, for those that don't want to use Safari, make sure Google Chrome's on it. VLC, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and any of the other additional programs that they might need on that show site too. And then that computer might differ from one of our computers that powers the LED walls that we use. So it might have specific software that it's using. So same thing would happen to those. It would figure out, oh, I'm not a graphics app. We use an app called Malumen. So it figures out I'm a Malumen Mac, and then it goes and downloads Malumen, and anything else related to that or related to any of the Blackmagic hardware and software that we use, or video software that we use, audio, Dante audio. So when it goes to show site and the techs start plugging stuff into it, they're not having to waste their time updating their dongles, updating the software to get their stuff working. That computer is ready to go out of the box. It's updated. The software's making sure it stays updated. And I know I've done my job well when I don't get calls. Because I can't tell you, it is very humbling when a computer ain't working and you get called and it's not working right, and the tech is like, this show's going live and tomorrow, and you have to figure out, is it really just a user error or something else gone wrong, and how do we need to resolve that? I wanted to show you guys what it looks like on my end. So this is going to be like the end. So self-service is what the user would see. So let me open up. Oop. Not now. So this is what I would see on my end, and I have, as you can see, I have a lot of different things that I can work with here, from different system settings and how those settings are set up when a computer is joined or part of our network, our group, to how they see self-service. So in self-service, I can even do things like I can make sure it has like our logo in there and branding, so everything stays on brand. What's really cool as well in self-service is, in addition to apps, I can also distribute iBooks. So if I wanted to make like manuals on how to do different things on their computers, I can write those up, or if they're already written, like in the iBook store, I can distribute iBooks that way too. It's kind of cool. Computer management and packages. Here's all the different, packages that we might use on different computers. So as you can see, there's a lot of different apps that we keep track of. Hey, there's even some older Mac OS operating systems. We probably can clean some of those older ones out. And hey, since Sonoma just updated recently to 14.6.1, we're making an image for 14.6.1. Yeah, Sequoia comes out Monday, but seeing as how these power really big shows and they use very dedicated audio video software programs and hardware, we always want to make sure that that works before updating to the next OS. So I know, right? But you know, when you have video techs and other techs at your door with pitchforks, you're like, So we'll usually like really make sure Sequoia works with everything that the technicians are using before we'll push Sequoia up. But since Sonoma is probably on one of its more up to date, this is probably where it's going to be going forward. We're actually making sure that that package is ready. So when our Macs start coming back, yet again, they'll get pushed out with the current version of Sonoma. So at least we know that when they're leaving and go to show site, they have the most up-to-date version of Sonoma. And that puts my mind at ease too, because that makes sure all the security patches and everything else on there are taken care of. On computers, it gives me a couple different cool things that I can work with. I'm gonna see if I can make this a little bit bigger, especially for those of y'all that are viewing from online. I'm gonna pick on myself. Let's go full screen here. A little bit better. Too big? Is that good? Okay. All right. So one of the nice things too is I can pull up information about a very specific computer that is in our control. So it gives me a lot of different things that I can look at. One, it can tell me what piece of hardware is that person using, so I can know, hey, this person, they're still rocking an M1, all right, Apple Silicon. When it comes time to update, it allows me to even go in there and export. What is everyone using? Maybe I want to go back and make sure that the people that are using the older Macs, maybe the M1 users get updated before the M2 and M3 users get updated. Some of our new guys got M3s, and it's like, man, you guys are fancy M3s. I'm envious. But oh well, I'll wait a little longer. Biggest thing for me, are you guys up to date? Because a lot of times when they come back to me and they tell me something's not running right, there's a good chance they're still rocking version 11 or version 12, and I can come back and say, hey, why haven't you been updating your Mac? Because there are times where making sure they have the most up-to-date Mac resolves the problem that they're having. Surprise. It even gives me information about who's logged into it, who's using it. Gives me a lot of really good information. Wow, 169 applications. That's okay. I didn't realize I had that many installed on my Mac here. That's good to know. But it gives me a lot of real quick information about what is on their computer. And if they send me a trouble ticket and say this is going on, I can even come in here and just kind of at a glance see what do they have installed, what's connected to it, what's going on this computer before I start drilling in and digging in.
Can you take it over?
I can. I'm glad you asked that question. Management gives me a couple cool things too. So one of the questions was, can I take over the computer? JAMF, we have it when it's setting up the computer initially, so when it's setting up the users, it does create a hidden administrator user that they can't see.
You can't see it, but when you try to log in, it's like, I can't create that user. Wonder why.
Yeah. So it creates a hidden user on there. So I can either SSH through terminal into the computer, or I can use remote desktop to assist them if they're calling in and they can't really tell me what's going on, and sometimes it helps just to see what's going on. Remote desktop allows me to do that. Also gives me a couple tools that I can use here on my end. So for example, as you can see, if it really comes down to it, I can remotely wipe the computer. I can tell the computer to download updates. I can give them a couple different levels when it comes to updates too. So I can download the updates, but let them pick when it installs. I can download the updates, but have it install like at the end of the night. Or I can just be mean and be like, look, we need to install this, and once it's downloaded, we're installing this now. I haven't had to do that to anyone yet, thankfully, but probably the other tool is on the iPad side. Our guys in ops roam all over our warehouse. You know that scene at the end of Indiana Jones when there's just like crates everywhere they're in? That's what walking through our warehouse feels like. So occasionally, our guys in ops will set their iPad down, cases get mixed, rolled, pushed around. Where's my iPad? It's my favorite game. Where's my iPad? I can also use JAMF to go in there, and on an iPad, I can do a couple different things. One, I can make sure it's still in the building. Yes, I've had guys in ops accidentally put their iPad in one of our crates and have that crate go to show site. So, having to tell them, I'll have to lend you a loaner. Your iPad is in Cincinnati now. Or if it's stuck in the warehouse, I can go and have it do a lost iPhone ping to give them kind of an audible clue of where their iPad is. And I always love hearing, always love hearing where their iPads end up. It's a very interesting spot sometimes. And my other big feature that I probably use on the iPad side is for our guys in ops, since they're pulling equipment, we want to make sure that when equipment gets pulled, it signs who pulled that equipment. We don't want other other ops warehouse guys to pick up someone else's iPad and pull something, because then it's sort of lying. It is not lying to us, but it's reporting back someone might have pulled something that didn't. So the other nice thing about this is I can go in here and enforce PIN numbers. So in order to get into their iPad, they have to put a PIN in, or they have to enroll their fingerprint on there to minimize someone accidentally picking up someone's other iPad in the heat of the moment and doing something on it that they shouldn't. So lot of different really quick tools, and then it also gives me a quick history of anything that we might have recently done on the computer. Even gives me kind of statistics, which applications get used the most. So Blocks app, I've been doing a lot of website updates, so I've been in the Blocks app a lot. We use Slack for communication, so I'm using Slack a lot. And as you can see, a lot of Photoshop and a lot of Outlook. So really helpful application. We can do even more neat things with JAMF. We can set other automations up to install specific updates or apps, so they don't have to use self-service. We can just have it install an app automatically. They don't the end user doesn't have to do anything. It just magically appears the next time they're on their network. My favorite thing too, like, I didn't download that app. Check, it's there, I promise. It allows us to do a lot of different things that really help minimize the time that you have to spend on the computers, especially when you have hundreds of Macs that you have to deal with on there. So that was the computer side, and then again, there's my devices side is where I would go if someone came to me with an iPad or an iPhone. You can use this app also with the Apple Vision Pro. We don't have yet an Apple Vision Pro.
Oh.
I know. We did actually have one client that was, when the Apple Vision Pro came out, we had one client that was really interested in having it at their conference, and we were like, yes, do it. Yes. We can get that for you. We can get that hardware for you for your show. No problem. They decided not to. We were so sad in the IT department. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time before we start seeing people in the office using Apple Vision Pro to do their work. And when that time comes, JAMF is already ready for us on that end too. So if it has an Apple logo on it, we can manage it.
You don't know if they're gonna have several people in a room with Vision Pros and their avatars?
You know, I've watched and read enough sci-fi dystopian futures to say probably yes. Did you all have any questions that I can answer about?
What's
How much
MVP?
does it cost for you to go to a show? I mean, do you have like a minimum fee to go to a show, or?
For me to go to a show?
No, I
Oh.
meant for your company.
For our company. So really it comes down to what the client wants to do. So we're not the only company that obviously does this kind of work. There are a lot of different companies across the nation, and probably big cities like Las Vegas have their own companies with the city that do it too. Where we shine is we really specialize in the integration of video and special effects. You probably, in that little video clip that I played at the beginning, it's really cool. One of the cool things that we're able to do is projection mapping. So we can do things like project on a side of the building and make it look like the building's like changing and doing different kinds of cool things. So we really specialize in some of the more advanced video special effects type stuff. And really at the end of the day, it comes down to how much the company wants to do. If they're not really wanting to do big extravagant stuff, it might be several thousands of dollars. But we've also had some companies where we filled up entire humongous rooms. Like for example, the Grace Hopper convention that I think was last year in Florida, that was like multiple gigantic conference rooms filled with projectors and screens and lighting and staging. It was a big ordeal. Some of those shows can get into millions of dollars for especially if they're multiple days. If they're multiple days, you can get to millions of dollars for just all the equipment, and also, having the staff there to make sure all the audio, video, and things all sync up. And then I'll bounce back. Yeah.
MVS, MVP.
MVP, MacBook Pro.
Oh.
Yeah. I keep it simple, I really do. So Jonesy's work MacBook Pro. So guess what? Yeah, my home one is Jonesy's home MacBook Pro. So I have to make sure to keep them identified separately sometimes, especially when I have them back to back like I do right now. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about automatically loading all that stuff, different ways, different configurations. Then when you bring them back from the show, does it automatically get rid of the stuff that don't want on there?
So we have a script that we made in self-service. So one, we don't want it to automatically erase anything, because every now and then a computer might come back from show site that we need to copy or back up something on just for our clients. So we hold on to our client recordings for a certain amount of time after the show ends, just in case that client comes back and says, hey, do you have a copy of this? We keep those as just a precaution. So once we've confirmed there's nothing on the computer that needs to be backed up or recovered, then we run that little script. That script will then basically wipe the drive, reinstall Mac OS, and then once it comes back, it will figure out what type of Mac it is. So again, if it's a graphics Mac, it will then start running the script to put all the graphics apps back in. Yeah. So yeah, it's more of a precaution because again, we might do a show for processor company A, and we don't want processor company B to know that when they get that same computer. Yeah.
Jonesy, when there's an update, so the update would come into your company, JAMF, and then it would be distributed out to the laptops that you're managing. Is that how the flow would work?
Like specific applications that need to be loaded on the different computers?
Yeah, I mean, if they're, yes.
Okay. So We can do it a couple different ways. We can have it push updates out when we want those updates to be pushed out. Some applications, like for example, Microsoft Office, we usually will have it push those updates out as Microsoft releases them.
Yeah.
But applications that are maybe very specific to like our video recording, once the video techs are happy with an update or a particular version, then at that point, once we get the gold light from them, then or green light, the light,
Yeah.
then we'll have it where it will push out to whatever computers need to have it at that
Yeah.
point.
So when y'all are getting ready for a show to go out, get on the road and get set up, I mean, do y'all just put the kibosh on basically on the updates until that show is done?
So for computers that basically go to the show site, yeah, we usually have, what would be the proper word here? I wouldn't say like looser controls over them, but we usually don't have them pushing updates out because we don't want it to have an update pushed out when maybe a show is actually happening. So usually when it comes to those computers, the updates don't really happen until it's been wiped and reloaded. So in that case, those updates are actually happening when they're being quality controlled. And then they don't really essentially get quality controlled or updated again until they've come back from the show.
Oh, okay.
The computers that are in the office, though, we're usually with those ones, we'll push them out to update in the background, or only update if they know that the program's closed.
Yeah. Second question, how long do y'all keep your Macs?
It's a really good question because depending on what they're doing and are they still doing it well. I mentioned earlier, we had Mac Pro, the trash cans. We just like the last few months replaced those. So for those of y'all that might not know, those little trash cans were pushing 10, 11 years. But those little computers were acting as essentially glorified video managers. So the copying the data, and if any of the video files need to be converted, they used programs like VLC to convert the video file to something else.
Yeah.
And so for 11 years, they were doing all that just fine.
Yeah.
For a lot of the other computers that go to show site, we do have some 2018 MacBook Pros that still have Intel chips, but we're actually getting ready to retire those.
Yeah.
So once those are retired, then my entire fleet for show site is now M1s, M2s, and M3s.
Do y'all actually buy the Macs, or do you lease them from a company?
We do own most of our Macs. The only time we'll lease a computer is if we don't have enough. And there are some clients that will ask for all the computers we have almost. I have essentially these cases that I can load 10 computers in. And so for some of our big shows, they might have 2 or 3 of those cases filled.
Yeah.
Going out to show sites. So when my shelves are empty, then we start looking at companies around the area, or sometimes in the area where the show is happening, if we can rent them from them if we have to. But we prefer to send computers that we own because obviously we have the full control over them.
Right. Right.
And then I'll bounce back.
Thank you.
When you're updating computers, is it audio mostly, or is it doing it at the show? And if so, if they don't have a computer, or they turn the computer off in the middle of a download, that screw up the installation?
So the cool thing about the JAMF software is if something interrupts an installation or an update, it will attempt it the next time it connects to the network. It'll reattempt it. If it's in self-service, the app I showed you guys at the beginning, it will give you the option to attempt a reinstall of the app. So you just click on it and it'll attempt to reinstall the app on there. And that problem doesn't, at least they haven't called me about that problem very often, because it usually will pick up where it left off if it has to. and then we'll bounce back.
I'm getting dissonant sources. I have Sequoia,
Okay,
beta version.
yeah,
And I have iBooks Author working on it, whereas they said somewhere else that Apple removed all that functionality to Pages for import and export. So that's surprising to me. Maybe they came back.
well, you can still run a lot of the older Mac apps in Mac OS thanks to Rosetta too. Because I think I still have, I sort of sent there. I will admit there are moments I miss the iBook Author app, but you can't. There are several apps that I've had for years that are still working in Sonoma and Sequoia because they're being translated live by the Rosetta app in the background, which is always nice to have. Yeah.
You mentioned you were supporting an F-35 show.
We did. Lockheed Martin, excuse me.
Did that include flight demos?
No. I don't think we did anything outside of the reveal. If they did any video recording, as you could probably imagine, sites like that are very locked down. So on that show, we actually just provided the video lighting and staging and things like that. We actually didn't provide any computers for that event for obvious reasons. But as far as like the reveal goes, yeah, we did everything that was like set up on that stage and the projection and all that fun stuff. No others, and then I don't know if there's any others that had any questions online or.
Anybody online, Rick or Barbara, have any questions? We're going to wrap up the main presentation here. All right, well, thank you, Jonesy. I'm going to stop the recording, but appreciate it. Very interesting.
Oh, that's a good question. We use